Who won contest the man Mo Salah? Liverpool versus everybody. Who? Who? I love Salah's response to the guy after the Red Star game. And I think, you know what? Just hearing, I think Salah's thing is the audacity for you to even bring up some drought that you heard from something or you fed into that. I think Salah is on some. You know what? Let me just start to remind these people who I am. Let me just start to remind them, and that could be our own fans, the world at large, the next team that we play, the next opponent, whoever the case may be. And that's for me a really really good feeling because I think that what Salah needed was he needed something to really I think push him that much more, that little bit much more. I think he's already a player who expects the best from himself. He pushes himself, and I think he does everything he can, literally, really, honestly, he can do to better himself, to improve the squad, to do what he can for this team. I don't think that's ever changed. Hasn't always gone the best for him. Here and there as far as the goal scoring. I think the performances have been there more or less for the majority of the season, honestly. And I think the only thing that's really missing is that he his kind of consistency with getting goals. Now, I don't want to make a big deal about it like people are in the celebration or lack thereof or whatever. Look, Salah's a humble guy. I think we all know that. The only time I really remember him celebrating, big time is the City game where he scored the goal nearly from the midway park, or the midway part of the field, and he gave a fist bump. That was probably the most I've seen him really celebrate. I mean, it's usually a prayer. There might be some hugs, high five with the teammates, but he's not a guy who's going to give you big, grand celebrations. So, no, I just love what he said to the reporter, and I think that's could possibly be a turning point. I think he laughed it off, but you can tell when he said who, it was kind of like so people. It was almost like he can imagine people doubting him, but to actually hear it, he's like, give me names. Who was it? So I can, shout them out next time I score a goal. I wouldn't be surprised if he pulled up a T-shirt if they were to tell him, if the guy was able to tell him, well, people like this or whatever. I wouldn't be surprised if he scored the next goal and pull up a T-shirt and it has that person's name. I mean, really. I mean, obviously Salah's not that kind of guy, but that would be funny. And then it would kind of give a bit to the people who say he's not celebrating enough. It's almost like, is this enough for you? So that could be really, really good for us. It could be really, really good for Salah, which is more important. I think when he's feeling good, when he's feeling at the top of his confidence level, not to say he hasn't, but I feel like when he's at the top of that level and he's really in that zone, there's no stopping Mo Salah. There's no amount of fouls, amount of defenders you can put around him, amount of hate, whatever, that can keep Salah from achieving his goal. That's just the kind of guy he is. I think he's a man of God, and I think he believes in these talents that his God has given him. And so, with that being said, I look for Salah to really, really kind of click things on. With goal scoring again, I don't think his performances have been awful or off necessarily or bad. But with the goal scoring, I think we have a lot to look forward to coming from Salah. So we'll see. But to get that 50 goal mark in I think 65 games or something insane like that, I mean, that's the best. So you can give me King Kenny, you can give me Suarez, you can give me all of these dudes. Salah has done it quicker, and I think by a high margin. I don't think it's really even that close. And those numbers are just phenomenal. They're just next level. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that world class players, the best at their position, these are the kind of things that they do. These are things that are close enough to what Messi has done or Ronaldo. I mean, the goals in such a small amount of time, it's big. It's big, and so may it continue. Moving on. Once upon a time, I believe Neil, unless I got it wrong, let me know. I believe Neil Warnock had the audacity, the unmitigated goal to say that Sol Bamba was better than Virgil van Dijk. Or was it Lovren he said it? Or Matip? Or Skirtle? Or Sacco? Anyway, any player that he would have, that he would even let that thought enter his mind that they would be better than any player that Liverpool has is nonsense to me. We know what he said post the game with Wolves, Nuno Santos, how he acted the way he did about telling him to fuck off, not shaking his hand after the game. The comments he had there in post game just wouldn't let it go. Wouldn't let it go. And for a guy to talk about more or less class from someone who's not from England and what you should do, Set an example because that's very non-classy for you to act that way. Um, because if people follow that, then they think, oh, well, Neil Warnock done it. You're supposed to be the, this long outstanding, manager, been around for a while, and that's not class. And he's been that kind of guy for most of the time I've known about him. Just different things, and we know there's been times where Klopp hasn't shaken a opposing manager's hands or the ref hands or whatever. We all have our moments, but the way he went about it was a bit childish, and so I don't have a great deal of respect for Neil Warnock, and so I said it before the season started. That's a team that I hope don't do well, and I hope they go back to the championship. That's just my opinion. Call it harsh if you want. Not a fan of Neil Warnock, but they had a good win against Fulham. Obviously, we are a total different challenge for them. We present so many other problems for them, and I think I personally don't expect much more than a team in Cardiff that just is set up to frustrate us. Low block, very defensive, everybody behind the ball. Maybe some kind of tactical fouls here and there. Try to get us from set pieces. I don't know how much height they have on their team, but I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe him bring in a player or two simply for the height and say, you know what, let's try to get them long ball. Let's look at some old footage against, United, how they got him with long ball. Let's look at, because there's not much, in my opinion, from this season where you can look at it and say, wow, especially with the defense we have, their only chance or slice of luck is to catch us sleeping maybe, and that's not happened much this season. So we're just a new team. We're a better team than we've been. This is the best team by far, not even close, and not even just for the record of being undefeated in the Premier League, but just the eye test. When you see this team, it's the best team, number one, that we've had in I don't even know how long, but definitely the best team under Klopp. It's not even close. Especially when you got guys who have just raised their level. Gomez, which I love how Klopp talked about him in the press conference. Genie, Milner. I mean, you got all these guys who are good players anyway, but have stepped up tremendously, and not even that amount of time. So it's just really good to see what Liverpool are doing whatnot right now. Jason, what's up, man? Everything's good with me. Nicole says good morning. Feel like this is going to be easy win, but I enjoy the Cardiff manager. I really am rooting for him. He's a nice guy. Okay, that's definitely something I don't agree with about him being a nice guy. But look, again, at the end of the day, he's been around for a while. I'm sure most of his colleagues, well, I don't even know about that. I'm sure there's people who feel the same way you do, Nicole. I think Klopp spoke nice about him. I don't think Klopp really knows him. It'll be his first time meeting him, but yeah, never really cared for him too much. Yeah, that's what it's about. It's always about the 3 points, and that's what it is this time around again. And again, like I said, you treat each game like it is, and you can win each game, or at least get points from each game. So, you missed the press conference. Any talking points, Jason? He talked about Fabinho and just how that he loved his performance, and that we probably possibly could see that formation again. Not a guarantee, of course. Spoke about Gomez and just how he's really improved and where he's come from his injuries and how he knew he was good when he came in, but he never really saw that full potential because of the injuries. He was playing out of position, if you will, at left back when he first came, whatever the case may be. But how he always heard around the club how good Gomez was, and it's nice to just see that come. He kind of didn't give too much information on this alleged new deal with Gomez, which to me means it's coming. I mean, he ended that by saying, even though he didn't give too much away, he ended it by saying Gomez will be there for a long time, which means he's going to get a contract. And after he's been playing so well, which it seems like this is not just a flash in the pan. I mean, it's not like I can't foresee all of a sudden his form just dropping. It's always possible, especially with a young player, but that's going to continue. And I was listening to a podcast the other day, and someone said that the average age of a center back in the Champions League is 26. This guy's 21. So we're talking about guys like Mbappe, who's a bit younger, and I get it. But it's time to talk about defenders, and it's time to talk about Gomez. It's really time to put him in that category of, top center backs. Not gonna go world class yet, but he's on his way. He's showing it on every level. Champions League, he's showing it, and so it's time to really start to respect that. Is I guess what I'm saying. Nicole says, I just watched the documentary on him and he came off really nice. Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, I think if you look at a compilation of maybe the not so nice things, I think you'll probably get a mixture of those. But again, this is not a show to talk about Neil Warnock or how much I don't care for him. I just threw that in there just because I'm talking about Cardiff and how I feel about their team or whatever like that. So, Neil Warnock, a nice guy. You from the UK, Nicole? Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't know. No, I'm from New York. This is still a little new to me. All good, Nicole. I love that you're here, especially being a fellow uh, stateside individual. So all good. But yeah, I mean, just from what I've seen of Warnock, I mean, I just don't really care for the guy. So, but fair enough to whoever believes what they believe about him. Anyway, they've had some moments against Fulham that they looked really good. And it on that game against Cardiff or between Cardiff and Fulham, for a long time I was thinking Cardiff are the worst team in this division, next to maybe Newcastle, and that still could be true. Fulham have looked better than they did, I'll say, in that game versus Cardiff. They looked much better than that. So I'm not really sure why it seems like it's such a huge drop off. But they're having some tough times right now, so that happens with teams that just come up. But Cardiff is Cardiff, and there's just not a great deal of threat that I see. I know Jurgen Klopp has to speak that way and say it, and to a degree, I hear what he's saying. It's Premier League, and as he said in the pre-match, Liverpool should win, but it's football, and we know everything can happen in football. Klopp has always reminded us that that's what he believes. You can tell the teams he's had, he believes that in himself. Kind of playing that kind of underdog, us against the world kind of way, or having that kind of sensibility or way about his team. So um, we all know that any given Saturday, Sunday, Monday, midweek, you can be got at and you can lose, especially if you overlook a team or feel like, oh, we'll just coast through this. So I think Klopp has instilled this kind of vibe mentality with the team that's not allowed. You cannot, and if he senses that in training or in the game, you won't be playing. And so again, I like that he spoke a lot about training because he made it clear that guys like Klein, Matip, Alberto Moreno did get some time, but none of these guys aren't putting themselves about in training. None of these guys deserve not to be playing, but because you have a team where you have so much to choose from, it's a tough decision, and the manager has to make it. And so it's not an easy one, and I don't think it's one that he necessarily wants to make, but he has to. You got to put a team together, and so. But that's very encouraging because while we may be thinking, oh wow, why is Klein not getting in? Especially if going into the season we're thinking, oh that's our backup fullback. Definitely not Gomez. When we feel like okay, Lovren, Matip, those are the backups for center back. But you think there's Klein who hasn't been playing much. Had a decent preseason, I guess. And people like to say he's always the consistent 6, 7 out of 10. I don't agree with that, but I think in this team there's just more that you get from Trent and Gomez. There just is, and for everything you can say about Klein and him being kind of sound defensively, and arguably maybe better than them defensively, I think maybe you can say it about Trent. I don't know that about Gomez. I think Gomez is on Klein's level, or if not better defensively. Let me know if you disagree with that, but. So he's find it hard to come by, and I'm sure he wants to play. And there's been rumors about him wanting to leave. I could respect that as well. Um, and you can understand why a player would think that. Here I am, your second, fullback, maybe most experienced, and I'm not playing. Former international. So, it's probably tough for him. It's tough for any player who's not getting the playing time. But at the same time, there's no sense of any breakup in the locker room. He's not really making a fuss. I haven't read anything about Klein coming out saying, I deserve more playing time or anything like that, which is good. But that all goes to the manager because there must be some kind of vibe in that dressing room where he makes people feel a part of it, even if they're not playing. Somehow he pulls that off. He seems to be a really, really good man manager. Jason, I get that, but it's so difficult to play hard in training when you know you're not first choice. You have to have a certain type of character. Yeah, and I think before I read the thing about the character, I was going to slightly disagree with you in a way because I feel like not that it's not difficult, but your goal should always be to prove yourself to get into the team. Now, that may not happen because of just the strength in the squad. Um, Take Shakiri, for example. I'm sure he works hard in training every day. And when he comes on and plays, it's almost like he's a starter because he feels like his level and he's continuing to show Klopp in games, I'm sure in training, and great. I mean, he had 2 assists in the game. He's every time he's played. Oh, I'm sorry. One of the assists was a hockey assist. He kind of gave it to Robertson. Robertson cut it back. But the weight on these passes is just phenomenal. And so it's up to Klopp to make the decision. It's not like these guys are not putting themselves about. It's not like they're not applying themselves. So yeah, while it may be difficult, That's your job. You're getting paid. So your thing is to continue to put it out there, and at some point, hope that it comes. If it doesn't come, it doesn't come. That's unfortunate, but at some point, I feel like it will, and I think Klopp is going to find a way for all these guys to get in. But I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. He won the ball initially for the hockey assist too. Yeah, I mean the guy is just. I mean, every single game. So I think even more so if you want to talk about fair, I don't like to use that word because life is just isn't fair. But if you want to talk about that, is you feel like Salah, I'm sorry, Shaq is maybe been done wrong a bit, and I hate to even say that because that's kind of silly. I don't think he's been done wrong necessarily, but I mean in terms of putting himself about every single game he's come off the bench, he started whatever, he makes a mark in the game. So Nicole says you hear everyone comparing their manager to Klopp if they are having personality problems. Yeah, I mean Klopp just I don't know what kind of work he did besides being a manager. I don't know what he studied in school or whatever, but I like to think that he had something to do with social work or something, maybe psychology or some understanding people because he seems to get that. Now we've had moments Sacco just didn't work. I mean, we get that, and that could have been a lot of reasons. I don't think anyone really knows exactly what that was, but that didn't seem to work out in the long run. Other than that, though, I mean, it feels like he has a way with his players, and they trust him. He trusts them, and it's a nice happy marriage there, but between the two. So, that's kind of one of the bigger traits, and most important ones I think just go kind of ignored, or just not talked about enough. I think, but that's a big one to have that relationship with the players. So again, I think Shaqiri, as I put in the title, I think he just got this kind of renewed level of football. I mean, I think he's always loved it, obviously, but you can rot away in a team like Stoke. All due respect to them, but you go to a team like Stoke from having these moments of playing with Bayern, playing with Inter Milan, though not much, but playing with teams that win trophies. I mean, domestically, in Europe, whatever the case may be. If they haven't recently, they have over their period of being a football club. And so you go to a team like Stoke, when I mean, season out, season in, the best hope is maybe making some kind of fluke run in the FA Cup or Carabao Cup or whatever. But you're not really winning anything big. You're definitely not winning the league. Your best for a team like that is to finish maybe, eighth. That's probably a reward for the supporters there, top 10. So coming to a team like Liverpool, I think it's his third time around playing with a big club. I'm sure he thinks, look, I got to put myself about. I have to show that I'm not just one of those guys that just couldn't play in a team like Inter Milan and Bayern. And you could say Shaq maybe deserves a longer stint in the starting 11, and not just with injuries. I mean, as a starting member, so maybe whether you're playing him at the 10, whether you're playing him as an attacking mid, I don't find a place. It's almost like you got to find a place for Shaq because he continues to do it. And even when he's putting in tackles that and missing people, just slide tackling air or just grass, he's still working about, and you can tell that although he might not be at the level defensively that Klopp wants, it's not for a lack of trying. It just might be positional. It might just be I don't know what it is, but you can tell that he wants to be the best he can be for himself, for Klopp, for this club, for this team. So that has to be commended. And so yeah, I mean it's again it's so lovely these periods of time because you get to see Liverpool during the week and at the weekend, and I just can't wait. 10 o'clock here in the states, a.m. on Saturday, so that'll be one of the first games. What's nice is that we get to watch all the games here, being as though FSG is a stateside a group out of Boston, and obviously Boston Red Sox are in the World Series, but I find it really unfortunate that living in Liverpool or in the UK, you can't get these games sometimes. It's insane. So I feel very blessed that I'm able to watch every single Liverpool game during the preseason because of the US connection. So I look forward to that. No matter what time they are, we're up early, late, whatever it is. Jason says Shaq should be a starter. I'd move Salah into the center forward position and have Bobby in the hole. Yeah, I mean, Klopp kept it kind of quiet, and I respect that. You don't want to give too much away. But yeah, I want to see more of the 4-2-3-1. See, Genie might have to sit for who? Naby when he's back and fit, or for Hendo? Because to me, Genie is if of all the players, And at some point, Genie's got to get a rest, right? I think Virgil van Dijk needs a rest at some point. I know people don't want to agree with that, but same way about Shaq Nicole, yeah. When Naby Ox comes back in, okay, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I think you alternate them if anything. Look, Genie. To me, I get all that, and you're very much right. I think we got a long way to see Ox back, but I get your point. When he's back and fit, yes, obviously he's got to be in contention once he's back to speed, which will take some time, even when he's ready to start running again. I mean, it's going to take him a while to get back with that kind of injury. So, and he's had injury issues in the past. So it'll be a good long while, I think, before we see Ox. Because even when he is back and ready, so to speak, there's still some other things you got to get, back up to speed. He hasn't been running. He's not in that mood of playing games. So yeah, sure, but Genie has been one of those guys where I think if we're all honest, we kind of counted him out when we thought about guys we were bringing in, especially not knowing that Ox was going to be gone for so long. I mean, Genie was not a guy that I'll speak for myself. Genie was not a guy who I thought would be playing first of all at this level, but also be in the team sheet this often all the time. And he can run forever, obviously. So Jason Buvach used to say Genie was the best athlete in the team, apparently. Yeah, and I don't disagree with that. Athlete for sure. I think most fit has to be maybe either him or Milner. But athletic, yeah, you can see that. Speed, pace, power, physical toughness. I mean, I talk about that all the time. His strength is just it's so underrated. So I'm glad three guys still with me, man. Appreciate whoever's in here. I think it's Nicole, Jason, and someone who's been anonymous. But yeah, I mean, I think that Genie is a guy who just deserves to play. And again, I obviously Nabi will have to come out, and we're assuming Fab will be the other spot, but they're interchangeable, changeable. You can put Genie in there, you can put Hendo. I mean, you can even have Fab going forward a bit. And have Genie in the hole, or vice versa, or even when Naby comes back, I think Naby can play that role throughout the course of a game. He might not be that sold on six, but that double six, if you will, if you whatever you want to call it, the two pivots or the pivot. I think he can play that role where okay, I'm gonna sit back, I'm gonna let Fab go. Fab will sit back and release me. I think that's what it can be, and I think what you saw with Fab and Genie could be very similar to what you saw um, in moments when N'Golo Kante and Matic, for example, or N'Golo Kante and what I thought they felt Bakayoko would have been. They made a whole song about them not giving the ball away, and them playing together is gonna be amazing. So just more so with the height, and Bakayoko is a big guy, and N'Golo Kante is slightly smaller and short. Genie is kind of similar in that way with the height difference to Fab, and I think having that kind of small, kind of rugged guy that can do a lot about the pitch, and then having Fabinho, who's kind of tall, I think needs to be a bit more. This is going to sound harsh, but I think he can be a bit more physical and stronger in tackles with his size and build. But yeah, I mean, I think that duo could be really really special in the long run. Um, but you can say that about a lot of guys in our team. You can say that duo could be nice with Naby and Fab. You know what I mean? I think either way you slice it, you can always put two to three guys together and say, wow, this is a really strong combo. So yeah, really just loved what I saw from Genie, um, and Fabinho. Really really loved it, and hope to see more of it. So I think it's time to probably talk about lineups now. I don't know who you guys think. Would you like to see the same team? Would you like to see Milner come in for Genie, give Genie a rest? Does anyone have a shout for Virgil van Dijk sitting, and maybe Matip or Lovren coming in? I know a lot of people talked about Trent and him still not really being back up to speed. Do you see Gomez coming in with Lovren, Virgil van Dijk, and Robertson? Talk to me. Do you think Sturridge deserves to start in a game like this? I think in these games we tend to kind of feel like, oh, they're games that we should probably be getting, so why not give a guy a run out? To me, I'd like to see the very same team that I saw against Red Star, back to front. I wouldn't mind seeing maybe Matip come back in at some point. You got to see that, and Klopp's talked about that in the press, just about him deserving to play. I don't know if that's a hint for him to come in. I don't know if that's a hint for Klein to come in. I want to see the same lineup. I kind of got a feeling that we'll see one change at least, but not many more than that, if any. So that's my prediction. I think the same lineup is what I want to see, but I think we might see a change at fullback, or maybe in the midfield. Same team, but put Milner in. Okay. I like to see some players rested. Give me some examples of who. Give me some names. Who would you like to see rested? I think Mane looked pretty good. You can tell that he was being very careful with the way he was falling, not to hurt that hand. Give everyone get everyone fresh for the Gunners. Jason, yeah, a lot of people have been talking about that as well. Although, is that our next game after Cardiff? I thought it was Fulham and then Arsenal. But like, oh, I think you're right. Arsenal is the very next game. Yeah, so that's true. They've been on a run. They just made it 11 versus Sporting Lisbon and the Europa League. So they're in a good way. They're in a good way, and yes, that is a game that you want to have an eye on. So maybe Klopp's thinking that, and maybe he's saying, you know what, let me rest some guys. So yeah, we could see some. Actually, you're right. Maybe we could see a little bit more than just a change or two. Um, so that'd be interesting. It's the Arsenal game away. It's the Arsenal game away. I think it is at Emirates. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Jason usually knows. He's on top of those things. But if anyone knows, I'm pretty sure it's at Emirates. So yeah, that'll be away, I believe. But yeah. First thing first is Cardiff, and we got to get the points. Rest Virgil, give Salah and Bobby 60 minutes. Okay. So bring them off second half. Yeah. When you say Virgil rest, you mean full stop, not even on the bench, or do you think he makes the bench in case? Or um, for me, I feel like Virgil Van Dijk just shouldn't be. If he's not starting, he shouldn't be on the bench. I mean, I get it. There might be a time when he's knock on wood coming back from injury, and you might not want to start him from the jump. But look, I love to see Virgil Van Dijk every single game, but at some point you've got to rest him. Um, same with Genie, same with maybe Robbo. Although I don't see a real good option on that side, and Alberto Moreno always scares me when he comes in. But he is our other left back, unless we're going to put Milner there, which I wouldn't be shocked to see at some point. Almost kind of the situation with Klein and Gomez, where you think Klein should come in, but Gomez just seems to be better at this time. Thompson, what's up? Cardiff are going to have a long day if we are close to our best. Yeah, we're at the Emirates Library. That's cute. Yeah, I don't know about that these days though, man. I think for a game against Liverpool, the run they've been on, I doubt it'd be anywhere close to a library. You know how supporters are. When we're not doing well, you might feel some down times, but when we're doing good, we meaning football clubs, then teams. And I love what Klopp continues to say about. I'm glad you brought that up. I love what Klopp continues to say about supporters. I think some supporters might be sour with what he continues to say or things he said in certain moments. But you can only be as a fan that's not in the UK. Maybe people who have a different point of view in Liverpool in the UK, or whatever. But as a fan, all the way on the stateside, taking in what he's saying, it's just like you know, yes, it's a game against Cardiff, but the fans, the atmosphere, it shouldn't just be that spectacular on European nights. Now, that's a different level, and you understand that, but the fans need to be behind the team all the time. And a misplaced pass, a ball out of bounds, a mistake, they're simply that. You know what I mean? And so, while it's natural for people to respond with ohs or ah or moan or whatever, at the same time, clap the team on. We do it all the time. And yes, there's times we see a bad pass and it's like, damn it. But it's just like, all right, do it again. Because Liverpool are always that close. They're always right there on the cusp of making something happen. And I think the more they can feel that from the fans, the better. And so I always think it's really, really good that Klopp makes it a point to remind us of that. And as much as he doesn't let up on his players, he won't let up on us. And I think that's a good thing personally. Thompson Carter theme song is similar to that's a lot of people said they copied us, but that's not an original Liverpool song, as I'm sure you know. I'm just putting it out there. So yeah, I remember hearing that loud and proud when they were playing Fulham. That's all you were hearing was couldn't even make out the actual lyrics to the song that they sing, but obviously I can hear the tone, and it was the same as the one we sing. So um, oh no, I'm sorry. I thought you meant the LA. I read what you said, but I thought you meant the LA because I think they have a similar tune to that too. So my bad. Yeah, I didn't know they had one for similar to "You Never Walk Alone." All the big teams have priced all the loud fans out of the stadium. Yeah, that's crazy. I don't know what's going on with English football in that way. I mean, you go to most other countries and they don't seem to have these issues. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I just think that's crazy. I don't know why they would price all the loud fans out of the stadium. It's unbelievable, man, how different the atmospheres are in England as opposed to other. And obviously, there's some home grounds where you still get that no matter what, especially if it's a smaller one. You think Palace, their fans are always crazy. I can imagine it being intimidating there for teams to go. Huddersfield, even as small as a club that they are, they seem to come together, and probably more so against bigger teams, but in general, and that helps. You can tell that helped like with for them against us. So yeah, it should be interesting. Should be interesting. Michael Thompson, Atlanta Falcons use manufactured like short horns. Yeah. In the NFL, there's a lot of stuff like that. In the UK, less money you have, the harder you go for your town. City is hard to explain. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Thank you for that bit of knowledge. 'Cause I definitely didn't know that. May have heard something similar to that like that, but and so it's probably it must be true because I feel like I've heard something similar to that. Maybe not worded that way, but thanks for that bit of knowledge. That makes sense. So fair enough for that. So but yeah, I was thinking, if we can keep it tight, and again, every game I'm going into, I'm thinking clean sheet. That's just me because the defense is just at that level. We're just that world class right now, and that's how I look at it. We have a world class defense. It's Liverpool, and so it'll take people a while to, see that or agree to that or admit to that. But that's fine. Liverpool rarely get a lot of love, and that's fine. And I think it's up to this squad of players, this manager, and this team, um, to believe in themselves, and while doing that, quietly proving people wrong. We don't need to bark too much about it. There'll be bateful questions that they'll ask Virgil van Dijk or whoever else. And I love the way Virgil van Dijk answers questions as well. It's almost about but that's all from Klopp. Not to say that these guys don't naturally feel these the way that they're saying. You think about Henderson interviews, Milner, Virgil van Dijk for sure. They're always very humble and very just like we got to worry about ourselves. You know what I mean? Like we got to respect every team we play and worry about what we're doing because we can only control our own destiny and what we're doing. So um, there'll be different times where they'll try to get us out of our comfort zone and get us to say certain things, but this team needs to just stick to what we do, stick to what we know, stick to how we play in our football, and let that be the talking. You know what I mean? Because at some point, people will start to put some respect in our name. I think everyone's waiting for Liverpool to fall, even some of our supporters. Like it's going to happen at some point. It's going to at some point we're going to put up a stinker, and defense is not going to be good enough. We're not going to score enough goals, whatever, and we'll fall on our face. People are waiting for that. So it's up to the team to prove that this is something that has legs. It has some longevity. So I'm predicting 3-0, and I really think it's going to be a solid hat trick. I think, again, I said it before when I started the video, is that I think what that guy asked Salah after the Red Star Belgrade song, even though song, Red Star Belgrade game, even though Salah kind of laughed it off, when he said who, if you look at his face, go play it back. He's basically saying, oh, really? Okay. And I think that alone could be the turning point in this season. I could be wrong, but I think that's it. Jason says, quick question on the left back position. You think Robbo is a long term player for us? Love the work he puts in and his delivery, but I see a lot of room for improvement, things I don't think he can do. You know what? First of all, let me say, shout out to yourself, big up yourself for actually saying that and speaking honestly about that. I think a lot of time Robbo gets a lot of um, this is going to sound harsh, maybe praise and hype. A lot of it's warranted. I think he's a good player, but I agree. There's a lot that he can improve in. I think his passing has gotten much better, especially in the final third. I think his work rate is amazing. I think he's pretty sound defensively. Again, we've spoken about it before. There's very little that comes on that side, but there are some times where he doesn't shut stuff down. I think Virgil van Dijk makes it clear that if you're not shutting stuff down, you're going to hear him in your ear. Whether it's Genie not shutting it down, whether it's whoever. So long term, yes, I do. I do. What bothers me, or I shouldn't say bother. What concerns me is if we don't have a reliable backup. I do think Robertson long term can be with Liverpool for years to come. When I say years, I mean 3, 4 plus. I really do believe that he can only get better, and so I think for most players you can say there's some improvement, and so I don't think that's such a bad thing. Again, he's still young; he's got some stuff to learn. We forget where this guy came from, so he's already improved. So, but yeah, things that he can't do. Speak more about that if you will, because I like to know what you think. But I love that you said that because I think he was considered to be a man of the match in the last game, and I just didn't see that. And I watched the game back, and I still just didn't see that. I think, I mean, people have opinions and they see games differently, but I don't really know. Maybe I'm wrong. Let me know if you agree or disagree. But I don't really see how he could even be mentioned in top three, four, five of players who were the best in that game. To me, I think Gomez easily goes ahead of him. I think Genie easily goes ahead of him. Fab, Salah, Firmino. I think a lot of guys, in my opinion, on a totality of the game, were far better than him. So I mean, again, I think he obviously can improve. There's not much that I think he can't do. He maybe can improve his shots on target, but I mean, he's a fullback, and there's not many amazing fullbacks that can do that. I think Marcelo is one of the top that I can think of for Real Madrid. But yeah, Tom says Robertson can score goals, but he does his primary task brilliantly. Yeah, and again, obviously he can. And I think if he started to add that to his game, wow, I mean, we got a real serious player in our hands. But again, that's not something I'm expecting to get goals from him. Neither one of our fullbacks. If we get it, it's a bonus. Trent is clearly good at set pieces, and probably between the two, we would say he is a guy you would expect to score more than Robertson. But neither one of them are guys who I'm thinking we need to get more goals from them. If we get them, great. I want to see more goals from the midfield. I think most people do. Um, I want to see Genie get more goals. I want to see Fab getting some nabby. And Milner penalties, but you don't really ever think he's going to get much goals from open play. Same with Henderson. If we get him, it's a bonus. That beautiful goal he had against Chelsea a season or two ago. I can't remember how long back that was now. But yeah, I'm thinking 3-0. I'm thinking hat trick for Salah. And hopefully more good things to come to see from guys like Fabinho and Shaq. And even Sturridge off the bench. I thought Sturridge had a very understated but very, very good and important role he played in game against Red Star. Could have had 3 assists, 2 or 3 assists. Lana just couldn't fit the bill. I think there might be one other moment where he could have had a layoff assist. Had the attempt from distance that people say is reminiscent of his shot from Chelsea. I think was slightly different, but I get the idea. So, listen, I just think this team is really, really playing for each other. There doesn't seem to be any real selfish individuals, although I know people would agree with that. Maybe in some games, selfishness, not making the right pass. I think Mane, again, in this game, I won't say necessarily selfish. I just think Mane's trying to get himself back into a groove, and I can't be mad at that. But there's a moment where I think it was Lallana or Shaqiri. I think it was Lallana was wide open for a pass, and if he made the pass, it would have been good. And instead, he went for a shot that was very, very similar, reminiscent to his goal against City, um, where he kind of slowed things down and just shot it in the top left corner. So, look, Mane wants to get his goal. He missed the penalty. He's trying to get his goals back. It had been 7 games, I think, 7 or 8 games that he hadn't had a goal. So I'm not mad at that. Um, let's see. Jason says, I'd like to see more power from Robbo. He turns backwards a lot. That's a good point. He does do that. That's true. Thompson says Shaq and Sturridge shoot from distance. That's one trait I love about them. Yeah, they do. And you need that sometimes. And sometimes it used to frustrate me sometimes when Coutinho would do it because it seemed like it was a desperate thing, right? And sometimes games call for that. You can say Sturridge's shot against Chelsea was a desperate thing, but that helped us that game. We stayed undefeated, and that was a big, big goal, and I think will come down to be a really, really big part of the season. So yeah, they can shoot from distance, and sometimes you want to see Shaq doing more of that. Just guys in general, take the shot. If anything, you put a hard shot in, maybe it'll bounce off the ricochet off the goalkeeper, off the post, onto one of our play. Take the shot, take the shot. So I want to see more of that, especially from distance. Nicole says, I'm really loving the work effort Robinson puts in lately. Yeah, 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 no question. And you can never knock him for that. He's going to put himself about. I think the classic one was against City where he covered so much ground in, I don't know, 10 seconds or whatever it was. It was crazy. Jason Mine is a fantastic player. Technically, he's our best. Yes, I agree. But he holds the ball for way too long sometimes. Yeah, I mean, I think he's one of those guys. He reminds me of. I don't know if anybody guys. I don't know if any of you watch the NBA, especially you guys who aren't stateside. But he reminds me of a point guard who likes to just survey the area, and in this case, the pitch, the grass. And so I don't know. I mean, I think Coutinho did that a lot, but I don't think he ever really got so much flack for it. And I know I don't want to make this a well, Coutinho did it, no one said anything, but I'm just saying, like, I think in that way, he's more or less taken up kind of that role as the guy to just kind of be that point guard at the top of the pitch. I think in general, Virgil van Dijk seems to be kind of that. If I'm thinking of putting him in as a position, he's more of that quarterback point guard. Like, let me decide where things are going to go from the back. But I think when you get to that front part of the pitch with those three, I think Mane's just that guy to kind of just survey, kind of see what you want to do, slow things down. And yeah, sometimes it seems to be a bit. So I get you. But I think all in all, it's not the worst thing. CP3, yeah, Jason, on point. CP3, who got in a nasty situation with Rajon Rondo. I don't know if you saw that the spit gate, but so yeah, I think you make good points about Mane. I can't disagree with it, but I do think there's kind of, for lack of a better way to put it, some method to that madness. You know, I mean, I think there's a reason for that, and I don't think it's necessarily the worst, but there are times, yes, where you feel like just get rid of the ball, man. But sometimes that helps, and he wins penalty. Like, I don't even know how he's swiveled out of that situation to even get the penalty in that game. He had two guys around him, but Mane's so cerebral. He's more than just this fast guy, and people don't really give him enough credit for that, in my opinion. Similar to N'Golo Kante in that way, like very very smart players, and so the fact that he was able to do that, call it soft, it probably wouldn't be a penalty in the league, but whatever. They gave it in the Champions League, and we go with that. So um, I need some Donovan Mitchell action from Mane. I like that, Jason. Fair enough. Fair enough. I like that, and clearly you know your sports abroad. That's impressive. Thompson, Jason, how many goals does Mendy have? Um, yeah, I think Mendy's a and people might think I'm crazy or think he's overrated, but I think he's a top quality fullback, man. I think if he can get better with staying fit, not getting these injuries, I mean, his crosses in the box are just ridiculous, just ridiculous. So, I mean, almost every cross he puts in, you feel like they can get something from it. I mean, they're just amazing the way he swings the ball in from different angles. Obviously, from that side of the pitch where he's at, but high up the pitch, kind of just outside the box. I mean, he's able to just whip in those crosses like no other, really. I mean, obviously there's other guys who can do it, but I think Mendy does it at a really really high level and pretty consistent from what I've seen. So, um, but yeah, I'm definitely not here to big up City players, but I get the point of you asking that question to Jason. I was just butting in, so forgive me for that. But yeah, I'll wrap it up here. I think I've given my goal prediction. I've given our score prediction. I'm giving who I think should start. And I just think we're going to continue to see some really amazing things from these kind of guys who, are new guys, are guys who aren't really making the 11 every single game, but probably would deserve to. Um, Black players never get credit for their football intelligence. They don't. That's very true. They only give us pace and power. It's always been like that. Look at Yaya Torre. Yeah, and again, I think I'm glad you brought that up too. Again, you can see in Fabinho kind of a mixed breed of, Yaya and even Vieira. Dare I say, these big kind of marauding, classic kind of dancers, if you will, on the pitch. But yeah, you're right. I mean, black player. I'm glad that you said that. That's very true. Black, whether it be English, African, whatever, they're more of just of speedy, pacey guys. They're that for sure, but they're not only that. They're not only that, and I think that's in sports in general. You think about guys that Africans, African Americans, however you want to call them. Um, you know they're going to bring at least that, and a lot of times people don't really take the time to see, or just ignorant or you know purposely blinded to the idea that these guys are actually smart players as well, not just athletic, specimens. So, but yeah, no, that's a good point, and that'll probably always be the case. I mean, even though we've had a number of examples of guys who you would have thought people would say, okay, he's more than just pace and power, P and P as they say. So, um, but yeah, no, I think Mane could get back in the groove as well. But I think Salah's going to be doing something special from now on. I hate to say that, but I think he's really going to just um, take it up a notch. I really do, with assists, goals, swag, brashness, whatever. I can give you a whole list. Yeah, I'm sure you can, Jason. There's a bunch out there to talk about. Thompson, same can be said for what NFL players always call smart. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, for sure. I mean, in the NFL, it's about the quarterbacks, right? You don't really when you think about black quarterbacks, you think about they're just athletic. Cam Newton, Michael Vick, McNabb to a degree, even though McNabb was getting to back to back to back, conference championships. never could win it, but was getting to that level and showing that, you know, there's a bit more. You know, Warren Moon going back as far. I don't know if you guys how far you guys go with football knowledge or American football knowledge, but all these guys who, Warren Moon was kind of that guy where people say, oh, okay, well, he's not a scrambler, but he's very smart, because he couldn't scramble. But you talk about guys like Peyton Manning, Brady, Joe Montana. All these guys are smart quarterbacks, and it's like because they don't have athletic ability, then they're relying on their mental and their so. But I think you can say that about a lot of sports, specifically American football and football in the UK. Enough about American football. Yeah, dummies like Tom Brady. Saying, give me, and the dude from the Steelers, I can't stand him. I can't stand. Oh, you talking about Roethlisberger? Yeah. But yeah, guys, I'm gonna wrap it up. Get a smoke in after this, relax a bit, and go out for work. But big game tomorrow. They all are big. I don't care what the name says on the shirt. I don't care what their manager is. I don't care what color they are. Um, Uniforms, that is. They're all these are all big games. They're all big games, and the moment you think they're not is the moment where I think you're short sighted what the competition is about. So excited about that. 2-0 being conservative. Yeah, I like the conservative. You're right, and I've been that way, especially in these teams where I think most of his team will snap them 4 or 5-0. I can't stand Tom Brady. Eli is the one. Yeah, every game is big when you're pushing for time. Yeah, I agree, Jason. I couldn't have said it better. And I'm glad to see someone else sees it that way. So they're all big. Being from New York. Oh yeah, Nicole. Yeah, yeah. I think there's just someone to say about Eli's the kind of what he'll this stamp he'll leave on the game. Eli and Peyton. Obviously, Eli's got more rings, one more, but I think or is Peyton on two as well now? I lost track. I don't watch the NFL anymore. I actually, guys. I mean, I know about stuff just because I grew up watching it, but I'm not a fan of the NFL anymore. So some of my knowledge might be off. 10:38 starts tomorrow. Yeah, can't wait, can't wait. So much love to all you guys. I'm gonna do a roll call like doing that. Just to let you guys know I appreciate you, Nicole, Thompson, Jason. Who else was in here that I'm missing? I think that was about it. Nicole, Jason, Thompson. Yeah, thank you guys. You guys have been here from the start of the stream. Thank you. Um, yeah, I think that's everybody. So yeah, man. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. Enjoy the weekend. Looking forward to that Tottenham and City game. What are you guys' thoughts on that? You think Tottenham can get something? A draw would help us, because again, with the goals that they're scoring, some drop points here and there, loss preferably, but a draw would help because again, at that point, then it's just on point. So as long as we handle our business, I think we gotta wait all the way till Monday, if I'm not mistaken, for the City and Spurs game. But I don't like rooting for other teams, but I'll definitely be rooting for Spurs to get something from that. Yours, Virgil van Dyke, vote cap. I don't know what. You think he should be a captain for the game? What do you mean by that? I don't know if I understood that. But yeah, let me get off here, man. See you guys soon. If ever you don't get a comment on the live, please leave one in the comment section. People will tell you I respond to them. So I mean, you know me, I'm responding to everybody. That's why I kind of like the idea that I'm kind of just underground, low key, not a lot of subscribers. Just kind of feels like a family thing. So I always love that. Jason, I look at this last comment. Last season, you see Bournemouth and think easy game. Now I see crucial 3 points. This is what I like. We're finally competing. Yeah, and Bournemouth look a decent side right now. They didn't get the best result recently against Southampton, and you can see Wolves took a pretty disappointing L, I would say, for them against Watford. So listen, yeah, we are competing, and that's really, really beautiful to see. Because again, the 13-14 season was one thing, and 2009 and all the other seasons where we felt like, but even in those seasons was like, because in that season with Suarez, as good as we were, as close as we were, the defense was atrocious. And nobody really likes to talk about that. They just talk about how great, Suarez and Sturridge was and all that. But the defense was one of the worst we've ever had, and that to me kept us from winning. Not the slip, not the Palace game; those things had a part to play in it, but it was mainly because we conceded so many damn goals. And so, with this defense, this is the best chance we've had in a very long time, and so it's up to us to see that through. But yeah, guys, love talking to you guys. Look forward to the next time I'm able to do that.